The Ascot Gold Cup, for many, the whole centrepiece of the Royal Ascot meeting, and fame and glory bids to live up to his name for the second successive year, Mark. Great winner of this race last year. Let's see him in action. This is back at Ascot, his beloved Ascot, in October.
Well, it was a good horse over a mile and a half a few years ago, but he's really found his niche in these staying races. Won the Ascot Gold Cup 12 months ago. This is at the Champions meeting back end of the year in October. 2 miles here. Jamie Spencer on board, another strong performance, and he comes with a good run. Well, he's in front now, and he stays on strongly. Beats Opinion Poll, a horse who'd beaten in the Ascot Gold Cup on his previous start. He might be a 6-year-old, but he's unexposed over these staying trips. I think he's tried 2 miles twice in the past. He's won both times. He's unbeaten at Ascot in 2 visits as well. Jamie Spencer seems to get on really well with him, and there seems to be tremendous confidence about him behind him this season, because I think it's a really strong race this year. I know you can argue he's taking on Opinion Poll again, but I think there's some really good opponents. Sadler's Rock, we don't know how good he could be. Colour Vision's definitely unexposed, so I think he'll have to be at the top of his game, but if you listen to the reports, there's tremendous confidence there.
Yeah, and he seems very uncomplicated, Mark. He's not dependent on how the race might be run. He can be ridden, either of 4 different ways.
And he won his warm-up. I thought that was a good performance. When he won the Vintage Crop, he gave £10 to a good opponent, unaccompanied. Didn't have his usual 2 prep runs this season. That's probably an indication he's in good form. Seems to go on any sort of ground. He's just a top-class horse. Yeah,
Opinion Poll, nevertheless, is a very, very worthy opponent. Yet again, let's take a look at him in action. And this is him at Sandown in the Henry II.
He's a 6-year-old. I thought he looked as good as ever this day. I thought it was a really smooth performance. Again, you can argue the horses in behind wouldn't be genuine Ascot Gold Cup contenders, but I still think it was a smooth performance. He's got a good course record as well. He's won at Ascot, a couple of second runs, including in the Ascot Gold Cup. Gets on extremely well with Frankie as well. Frankie's ridden him 10 times, 6 wins and 3 places. So it's a tremendous matchup between them, and this was a good performance. A bit of ease in the ground, I think, is what he ideally wants, and he goes there with strong claims.
He certainly does. He must be a real favourite in the Godolphin Yard. And let's turn to another favourite, Overturn.
Yeah.
There can't be a bigger favourite in the Donald McCain Yard than this horse. So versatile, hurdling or flat racing. He's done it at a very high level, and he's sure to run his race again. He probably isn't going to be good enough, but he's sure to run a good race.
I'm sure he'll cover himself in plenty of glory, won't he? He never ever lets anybody down. We know what he's done over hurdles. Won a fighting 5th again last season. Won an Ascot hurdle, so we know he goes well at Ascot. And that tremendous run in the champion hurdle, and he certainly wasn't disgraced in the Chester Cup.
No, let's take a look at him at Chester, and ran an absolute blinder. Also in this, of course, Gulf of Naples. Overturn finished 2nd, Gulf of Naples finished 3rd.
Well, this was off a rating of 106, which tells its own story. What an excellent performance. He's now 112. He was attempting to concede £13 to his stablemate Il de Rey. This ground would have been softer than what he ideally wants. As I say, he's got some Ascot form, albeit over hurdles. He's entitled to have a crack, isn't he? I don't know whether he's in the Queen Alexandra at the end of the week as well, but this sounds as though it's the priority, and no reason why he won't run his race. Even if it's just on the slow side, I think good or possibly good to soft would be okay for him.
Yeah, Gulf of Naples back in 3rd place there, Mark. This is a tall order for him.
It is it's a tough ask for him. I think he's a very good staying handicap, but it's a big step up to go into Group 1 company. And strictly on that evidence there's no reason why he would turn it round with Overturn.
No. Sadler's Rock, Mark, you touched on him just when we started this conversation. John Ox has always thought the world of him, placed him to win the Doncaster Cup last year. Hasn't had perhaps the preparation they might have wanted, but nevertheless comes in here as a very, very worthy challenger and an exciting prospect.
He's an exciting prospect, and he's an unexposed horse as well, isn't he? He won a Doncaster Cup last season. I know he's getting £17 from Opinion Poll, but he's definitely unexposed over staying trips. John Ox won the race with Enzelli a few years ago as well, so he certainly knows what it takes. I thought he ran really well on his reappearance. That ground wouldn't have suited him. It was heavy at Leopardstown in the Savile Beg. The only doubt would be he hasn't had a great preparation. I think the trainer was keen to get 2 runs into him, and is it ideal having raced on heavy ground not long ago since the Ascot Gold Cup?
Such a good trainer though, John
Yeah,
Ox, isn't he? That I can't imagine for a second he'd be bringing this horse over if he didn't think he could really do himself justice.
Well, he doesn't bring many horses over to Royal Ascot, does he? And what he brings usually acquits himself well. So I'm sure he'll have him spot on. But I think with a smoother preparation, you'd have a bit more confidence.
Yeah, let's take another galloping clue. This is Memphis of Tennessee at Chester, the same Chester meeting that we saw Overturn competing at, and again it was pretty testing ground.
He's rated 117. He's never tried anything like this trip-wise. He won the Ormond here over 1.5 miles. He beats a 6-year-old mare, Vivacious Vivian, who's rated 100. Wins well, wins by 4 lengths. It's all about the trip for him. It's real unknown territory. He's by Hurricane Run, but his form's good. He's won an Ormond here last season. He was beaten less than 2 lengths by Poumoir in the Epsom Derby. He was third in an Irish Derby, so we've got a good idea of how good he is, but we've got no idea if he'll stay 2.5 miles.
He has the sort of profile of a cup horse, hasn't he?
He has, yeah. He could well, if he improves again for going that sort of distance. Yeah. He was in the Hardwick. I was hoping he'd go for the Hardwick, but he looks as though he's going to be a second string for, say, a second bow even for Ballydoyle.
Yeah, second string to his bow. Colour vision, excuse me, colour vision, Mark, you mentioned. Again, a horse not to underestimate in this.
Well, he can't be underestimated because he's unexposed over the staying trips as well. Trained by Mark Johnson last year, he won 2 miles 2 round Pontefract, albeit in a conditions race, and he was very good in the Sagaro on his reappearance.
Yeah, and he's just such an out-and-out galloper, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I think he won't have any trouble whatsoever getting the trip. It's whether he's got the class of something like Fame and Glory. But you look at the form of the Sagaro, he beat Red Caddo, who's won a Yorkshire Cup, placed in the Coronation Cup since, and he beat him by 5 lengths.
Do you feel that Fame and Glory has a little bit more on his plate this year than last year?
I think he probably does, but the vibes...
On potential then, on potential opponents, shall we say?
I think so, because you've got colour vision. We don't know how good he really will be over 2.5, but I think he'll improve for it. And Sadler's Rock as well. He's already won a Doncaster Cup over 2-2, so you'd be very surprised if he didn't stay 2.5. So they're just 2 noteworthy opponents in their own right. I think Opinion Poll's as good as he was last year, if not better. Memphis, Tennessee, we don't know if he'll stay, but if he does, he's got to be a player.
Fascinating race for the Ascot Gold Cup. Fame and Glory bidding to win it for the second successive year and write his name yet again into the annals of Royal Ascot history.